Hi everyone, it's Tim, and this is What I Saw When I Saw Capote. Let me say at the outset that if you are in any way disturbed or unsettled by grisly details of murder or images related to death, perhaps you might prefer other videos of mine about movies on my YouTube channel. Capote, the movie, was released in 2005 and starred Philip Seymour Hoffman as real-life author Truman Capote. The movie, set in the mid-1960s, follows Capote as he researches a multiple murder in a small town in Kansas and turns the events into a best-selling novel called In Cold Blood. Truman Capote spent a great deal of time in Kansas, getting to know the principals of this story, interviewing them, doing research. He was very much aided in this by his childhood friend, Harper Lee, the author of To Kill a Mockingbird. The book In Cold Blood is dedicated to Harper Lee. The Kansas family who was murdered, the Clutter family, father, mother, and two teenage children, a boy and a girl, were murdered in a grisly fashion. Each of them was bound and gagged and then shot in the head with a shotgun. The father, Mr. Clutter, had his throat slit and then was shot in the head. My favorite scene in the movie Capote has no dialogue, and it only lasts for a couple of minutes, but to me, it has a very potent message about what it is to be a creative writer or a journalist. In the scene, Truman Capote is attending the funeral services for the Clutter family. He makes his way to where the 4 caskets are being kept. Now, when I saw this movie in the theater and it came to this scene, I remember spontaneously taking a deep breath because I knew what Truman was going to do. I'm not a famous author, but I am a writer, and I have a modest background in journalism. I knew what was coming. Truman, at this point in the story, knows that the 4 victims have each been shot in the head, and he knows he is going to write about these events, if not for a book, then at least for a long article for the New Yorker. He stands before a casket, and he opens it. Truman looks away to gather himself, and then he looks again. Then we see what he sees: Mrs. Clutter's head wrapped in what looks like cotton. Why do I like this scene? Writers are by no means the most courageous people on earth. There's no need to romanticize them into being paragons of fortitude or bravery. However, what this scene dramatizes so well is that if you're going to write about something, and write about it with authority, with detail, you must look at it. You must confront it. You cannot turn away. Not every writer, of course, writes about multiple murder, but in the process of writing an essay or a book, or in writing a short story or a novel or a play or even a poem, you must sit with the thoughts, emotions, and reality of what you're writing about. Susan Kolodny, a psychiatric therapist and poet herself, is the author of a very good book called The Captive Muse on Creativity and Its Inhibition. And in that book, she writes, "Creative work brings us up against conflictual material, forces us to tolerate ambiguity, has potentially difficult and often unconscious meanings for us, and makes us see ourselves." Now that is accurate in both the experience of creative work and the creation of it, which is one reason why making art can be so challenging for people. To create artwork, you must go to and abide in that place from which inspiration springs, and that place may be difficult and unpleasant. In this scene, Truman is literally looking death in the face. Not even just death, but murder. The murder of innocent people. Truman is at once curious and repelled by what he sees. but he must see it if he is going to write about it, if he is going to recreate it on the page. Wonderful scene. Now, I couldn't make a video about Truman Capote and the movie Capote without mentioning a peculiar coincidence, if you want to call it that in 2006, the year after the movie Capote came out, a movie called Infamous was released, which is also about Truman Capote and the writing of In Cold Blood, although with a slightly different focus. The part of Truman Capote in Infamous is played by the British actor Toby Jones, who is so physically similar to Truman Capote in size and build and even facial features that he just seems to be Truman on screen. As good as the 2005 movie Capote was, more attention was paid to it because Philip Seymour Hoffman was a more famous actor, and he won the Academy Award for Best Actor for his portrayal of Capote. The movie Infamous is not too shabby. This is my favorite scene in that movie.
Tom, do you have any leads yet?
Nothing I can discuss.
Detective
Jimmy.
Yeah, will you confirm that there is more than one killer?
I will not.
Well, of course there was more than one, unless the killer was a hypnotist.
Beg your pardon, ma'am?
It's illogical to suppose there's only one killer. The Clutters were tied up. To tie them up, he'd have to put his gun down. Once he put the gun down, the Clutters would run for the hills.
I don't believe I know who you are.
Or what?
I'm from out of town.
What's your paper?
Ladies' Home Journal?
Oh, I'm not a reporter. I'm a writer.
Great line. I wish I could use it someday. Well, thanks very much for spending this time with me and taking a look at my favorite scene from the movie Capote. Please check out my other videos of what I saw when I saw on my YouTube channel. Thanks very much.